Great. Thank you so much for joining us today, buddy. How's it going?
It's going good. How you guys doing?
We're doing real good. We were actually just talking a little Vols football, and thought it'd be a good moment to bring you in. Obviously, spring practice has started. A lot of freshmen are already here. Tell us a little bit about what it was like for you to get into your first practice, at Tennessee after you'd been recruited. What was it like? What was the change like going from high school to college football for you?
Well, it's a lot different now. A lot of guys, early enroll.
Yep.
If not in January, they'll go early in June. For me, that was kind of unprecedented back then. All the guys just showed up in August.
Yeah.
There was no social media or anything like that. So, a lot of guys really didn't even know each other. So when I showed up, that was the first time I met my roommate. I had knew of him because he was from Murfreesboro, went to Murfreesboro, Riverdale, but never really, met him outside of just, Friday nights and things like that. So for us, coming in as freshmen, it was very, very different. You showed up, moved in the dorm, a couple of days later, done your physical and all those things. And then you went straight to practice. So there was no time for, to worry about any of the other things that came along with being in college.
Now, you came up out of Jasper, Marion County. What was your recruiting process like? Because I know you played a lot of tailback and safety in high school. Did they talk about having you play linebacker, and what other schools were involved in the process, and why did you pick Tennessee? Because, they were at home, or what was that process like for you?
It was kind of a slow process. I wasn't, a heavily recruited guy. I think, going into my senior year, I didn't have many offers at all. I picked up Memphis was one of my first ones, and then came, Tennessee, Alabama, and a few others. So I'm right. And Jasper, Tennessee is kind of right on the border of Alabama and Tennessee. So my first visit, I went to Memphis, I went to Alabama, I went to Tennessee. So those are kind of, the three that were in my mind. I wasn't, I knew I didn't want to go far away from home. I remember talking to Charlie Strong when he was at Notre Dame. He tried to get me to come up there. I just didn't see myself going that far away from home. So those are kind of the three that, that stuck out to me at that time. The process was a little different than I think it is today. There's a lot of social media aspect to, a lot of the recruitment of a lot of these high school kids. I can remember, at games and my coach telling me that, that Tennessee was coming to watch, a playoff game or, and things like that. So a lot of that was different, when I was being recruited out of high school.
Yeah, it certainly has changed. I think one of the biggest things that's different now is, like you mentioned, when they started talking to you. These guys, I went to Knoxville Catholic High School here in town, and we have a kid that's a quarterback that hasn't even played yet, and he's gotten offers from 4 or 5 different schools just from his training with a quarterback trainer and from playing at 7-on-7s. Just talk to us a little bit about how it has changed. You're still around the game obviously now, and you see what's going on with these high school kids. What differences besides that, the early on, obviously there's social media, the guys contacting them a little bit earlier, but what else, has led to the changes in the recruiting structure that's going on now?
I think the camp culture, a lot of kids are going to camp, early, whether it's 7th grade, 8th grade. I think they're getting seen a lot more than when I was in high school. When I was in high school, I went to one camp.
Yeah.
And that was a local camp here in Chattanooga, UTC. I didn't go to any other camps because I also played baseball in the summer. So I was busy doing that. So I think nowadays it's just a lot of the camp culture. Coaches are getting to see a lot of different kids when they come to camps, whether it's in the spring or in the summertime. And also, you you look back at the, pandemic and all that stuff, even after that, they had a lot of these mega camps in the summertime where there would be 20 colleges, at one spot. So they get to see a lot of different kids, and a lot of kids get to showcase their talent in front of a lot of different colleges. So I think a lot of that plays into a lot of these early offers, and kids are just getting seen a lot more.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And just to piggyback off that, these kids today are having to deal with a lot more as far as the recruiting goes. I mean, we've talked to a couple high school coaches on our show, and they said some of their kids are missing out because there aren't as many scholarships available because of all the transfers. There's so many people transferring every year that some people, some coaches want to go out and get a little bit more finished product, and they want to go, fill a need and fill a gap by getting someone who's already played. Tell me what you think about the transfer portal affecting these high school kids, and do you see them potentially going to smaller schools or junior colleges if there's not scholarships available for these kids that maybe aren't looked at as early as some of the other ones?
Yeah, and that kind of goes into my recruitment also. When I got to Tennessee, I played tailback in high school, played safety. So when I got to Tennessee, they really didn't know where I was going to play. So I started out, on the defensive side, started out playing safety. That didn't last very long. I was about 205. So, once you get to college and you start eating in that dining hall, and packing on those pounds, I can remember them coming in and saying, hey, we're going to put you in this nickel package, right before we played Florida. That was the last time I saw safety, during my career. and I say that because, all the guys that I played linebacker with at Tennessee, none of us played linebacker in high school. We were all, even Al played tailback, quarterback, safety. He actually played safety half of the season his freshman year.
Yeah, I remember that.
So a lot of us didn't play the linebacker position in high school. We were molded into linebackers once we got to college. Nowadays, I think, a lot of schools want an already made project. They want a kid that plays linebacker in high school and that's going to come in and fill that void, right away. And I think when you look at the transfer portal, there's a lot of kids who fit that mold that colleges can go get instead of waiting on a high school kid to come along.
Yeah.
When was it when you showed up on campus that you knew, like, this is different? Because, I mean, let's be honest, you look at the talent that was on your roster during practices, both on the offense and defensive side of the ball, was pretty remarkable. When did you realize, holy crap, I got to really step up my game, like, immediately if I'm going to show out in practice?
The very first day. we had to, and that's another thing. We had two-a-days back then. A lot of these kids don't know about the two-a-days, the grind of real two-a-days. Pads on morning, pads on in the afternoon. So the very first day was kind of eye-opening because we did the Tennessee drill. Some people call it the Oklahoma drill, where it's just mano-a-mano. And that right there opened my eyes quickly that I needed to, to strap it up and make sure that I'm on my P's and Q's.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And talk to us a little bit more about that team. I mean, I've lived here since I was 3 years old, and I've never seen anything quite like that football team. I mean, there was talent all over the board. But, there's teams that are talented all the time that can't make it all click and get to that next level and win a championship like that. What do you think in your mind was it that made that team special and made you guys have the ability to win the big games?
I think it was after we lost a lot of our key seniors in '97. Marcus Nash, Peyton, Leonard Little. We lost some key guys off of that '97 team.
Yeah.
I think it was during our summer workouts that we took it upon ourselves to become a lot closer, to hold each other accountable. So I think it was those summer workouts, that propelled us to be, a dominant team, in the fall. We took it upon ourselves just to, practice hard every day, hold each other accountable, and let everybody know that we're going to play together.
Who was, I mean, because there are obviously a ton of people, not only coaches, assistant coaches, players. Who was that motivating person that you found in college ball or even in pro ball, that really like helped more develop you as a player, give you a better mindset, be what you became at UT and moving on, that you've really taken to your post life too as well after football?
My freshman year, I had a guy that, when I got moved to linebacker, I had a guy named Tyrone Hines, who's from Brownsville, Tennessee, went to Haywood High School. And he took me under his wing when I got moved to linebacker. And, I pretty much just followed everything he done. So the funny thing is, if Tyrone would mess up in practice, then you best believe I'm gonna mess up in practice, because I'm watching everything he does, and I'm trying to emulate, his stance and how he attacks the ball carrier, how he communicates with his fellow teammates. So he was one of those guys that took me under his wing, showed me the ropes, and kind of guided me, into becoming the player that I was later on in my career.
Yeah, and they had some, Tennessee obviously had some good coaches there during your time, and after you left, there was some struggles. There was coaches coming in and out, but it looks like they may have found a guy that could potentially do it. And obviously they had a really good season last year. Coach Heupel obviously has a good offensive acumen that he's built up. What did you think about the season this past year, and what do you think about Coach Heupel and what the Vols look like moving forward under him?
This past season was remarkable. I know they had a letdown, towards the end, but you couldn't ask for what those guys done this past season. What the staff done, how they prepared those guys. It was every time those guys stepped out on the field, I thought they could win. And I know a lot of other guys that support the university thought they could win also. It was just a remarkable season, to look back on. And I think they can improve on it even more this coming season. I think they have the pieces in place. They have the leadership in place. So I'm looking forward to an outstanding year this year also.
Now, the combine just got done a couple weeks ago. And what was, from an outsider's perspective, what's the combine like? Like, that's one thing that just, I can only imagine it's just got to be kind of nerve-wracking would probably be the best word, but I can't imagine, like, what's your thought process going through the time period at the combine in Indianapolis?
It's definitely nerve-wracking, somewhat stressful, because you're meeting with a lot of teams. They're asking, a lot of questions, a lot of personal questions about your life, upbringing, things like that. But you're also doing a lot of doctor visits, so pre-existing injuries that you may have had, so they're checking all those things out. And that's all leading up to before you even do your on the field stuff. So it's a lot of early mornings, late nights, meeting with different teams and things like that. So, for guys to go out there and to perform at a high level, it's really remarkable, I think, because a lot of people on the outside don't see what they go through those couple of days leading up to before they even get on the field.
Yeah, no doubt. And talk to us just a little bit more about that. What was it like, once you knew your college career was over, you start heading in to prepare for the combine, I can't remember if they did pro days back then, but, getting ready for that, meeting with teams, and then, about to get drafted, in the process of getting drafted. Talk to us a little bit about what that was like for you and what your experiences was going through that.
For me, it was just trying to stay calm. I knew I was a good player, and I knew that I could play for a lot of different teams. So my agent, he really helped me out with schooling me on certain teams, certain questions that they would ask, who was really interested in me, and things like that at the combine. So I took it in stride. I was well prepared. I met with a lot of different teams, during my combine, and just went out there and performed like I always done.
Now, we always hear about you brought up the questions and sometimes how they're pretty weird. Can you give us an example that a question that you got that you're like, where in the hell is this coming from? And you try to answer it by keeping a straight face. I mean, I've heard some weird questions.
I mean, sometimes your favorite food, where'd you hang out in high school, different things like that. I didn't get too many weird ones, but I know you would have guys walking out of meetings and that next morning like God, I can't believe they asked me that. And it's kind of, and the thing about it, the NFL, they do their homework on these guys. They do their homework. So when you're going in there and you're answering those questions, it's probably something that they've already asked somebody or found out about you. But it's crazy.
They want to know if your answer matches up with the research they gathered, huh?
Correct.
That's crazy. Well, man, we really appreciate you coming on and spending some time with us this morning, Eric. I was always a huge fan of yours, and we couldn't appreciate it anymore, you joining us today and talking a little college football with us.
Man, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys having me on. You guys have a great show, and I look to see you guys continue the success with this.
All right, buddy. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
All right, we'll talk to you again real soon. Okay, Eric?